There we go. There we go. And voila.
Backlog activated.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Backlog Activated. I'm PatNet and I'm joined by Weirdo Maxim. Some would say, through your process of doing this, that a good snowman is actually hard to build. Would you say that's true?
Funny you say that, because that is the game we are talking about today.
No kidding. No kidding. A good snowman is hard to build. And obviously, Maxim did make a good snowman, but after a lot of struggling, it finally got there. And that's literally the entire premise of the game. That is the game. That is everything in the game is snowmen that are hard to build. That's it. Like, that's what it is. You know what I mean?
To give it a more clarification, a good snowman is how to build is a puzzle game. Well, your objective is to, make snowmen or snowwomen. And it's a very interesting concept because you basically have 3 snowballs. And you have to make sure that, to make a snowman, you need to have the biggest, the middle, and the smallest. Make the biggest. Use as many space as you can. Use as many snow as you can. The middle, make sure that you only use it once. And the smallest, make sure you don't even use even a bit of snow. And it's a very interesting concept of, okay, how much should I use the snow in order to make a snowman? And where do I have to position everything to make a snowman? And eventually you have to make more than 2 snowmans. Eventually you have to make 3 snowmans. And it is very challenging and fun.
Yeah, I think it's very clever, all the ways they can incorporate very simple challenges that you understand immediately. You understand that when you push a snow onto a snowfield, it gets bigger. And then suddenly the entire challenge makes sense, right? It's just a matter of how do you get to the result that you want. There's a couple of different things that they do to incorporate things that make it more interesting than literally just building a snowman. And yeah, challenging and fun is a good way to put it. This isn't the kind of game I would normally decide to play without, having a series dedicated to it or whatnot. But I was pretty happy when I was able to at least experience the different ways that you actually can build a snowman. I think the thing that I enjoyed most about this game too is just having options in the puzzles that you approach, like being able to kind of back away from a puzzle for a while and do a different one for a little bit. I think is an extremely nice touch that a lot more puzzle games could do, because getting locked into a puzzle that you literally can't figure out is not always the funnest thing. And you always have options, because if something's giving you trouble, you just leave, find another hedge, and then give that one a shot, right? And it's addicting too. You don't want to stop in the middle of a puzzle. You want to get that thing finished. And the next thing you know, the next one opens and you got to run over to the next room. So yeah, challenging to fun is a great way to put it.
What I also really love about the game is that it has the 2 options, pure reset and, turn reset. It's rewind in this case. It's like, I messed everything up. Let's reset completely and start from the beginning. And then you have another one is like, okay, move. Oh, I moved this a bit too much. Let's rewind. Yeah. And it's very nice. I know other puzzle games also do that, but it's always nice to have it, mainly because you can sometimes mess up and you don't want to do the whole 5-minute thing again. Well, it's just like, okay, just back up.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. And once you finish the puzzle and it's just like, oh, we did the puzzle. It has a name and you can hug it. And it's like, it's very satisfying. It's satisfying because it has that charm. It's nothing grand, but it's always like, you did it. Now hug it. And I think I always like that kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, like you said, the 2 different options for resetting is really nice. I think also, because sometimes it's nice to completely reset, obviously, if you've screwed it up too much. It kind of says something about cognitive learning, where it's when you have a chance to catch the problem before you fully build upon it. It can sometimes help you learn more because you're not getting caught up on steps that lock into your brain that don't end up being important, right? Like, it almost feels like I wish I could take a math exam and then like have someone looking over my shoulder. As soon as I make one mistake, like, no, that's a mistake. Figure out why it is or something, right? I think there's something kind of interesting about teaching the player using that reset, because it stops it in the tracks. It doesn't get you thinking about the things that are nonsense, which is kind of nice. But also you could ask, like, when puzzles don't have that level of reset, like when puzzle games don't have that, the punishment ends up basically being time. Because if you realize you made a mistake, you just have to go through the time of either losing the puzzle or hitting menu, resume level, or something like that, right? And time is not really a real punishment in a way, right? So, I think a lot of games realize that now. They kind of move away from that idea of like, we need to punish them by making them wait and not play your game more, and it's not a great model. So yeah, having both kind of resets, I think is very helpful, especially when some of the levels are definitely as challenging as they are. By no means is it like a handicap. You know, you never feel like you're getting off easy because of it. Because there's some hard levels, some really hard ones. I think there's some snowmen I just had to not work on because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't figure it out, and I just had to move on with my life. But
I'm the total opposite. I just like, oh, this is stuck. No, it isn't, and I just brute force every puzzle. It's like, I can do this, and I did it.
Well, and the level of satisfaction you get when you finally do brute force it is very nice, and it plays the nice little boo-doo-ding, the jingle and stuff like that, and you get to hug it. And, it's a very, very solid time. One thing I kind of wish, and maybe this increases the more you go throughout the game, I kind of wish there was more interactivity with things that weren't even part of the puzzle. Because like you said, hugging the snowman's kind of nice, but there's a lot of interesting little objects and benches and stuff like that would almost kind of cool to see some character interaction. Like, I think there's an occasional, like, you can push a like a bird bath and make it splat a little bit, but I think I wanted to see a little bit more interest in the objects surrounding and whatnot. I don't know if you felt that way.
I mean, kinda. I mean, you can sit on the bench, so that's nice and everything. But for other things, not really. I feel like it's like, okay, the whole premise is to sit down, maybe look at the telescope or anything, and then telescope.
There was the telescope, that's true.
There was a telescope where you can see the map and everything. And then there's the other things is like moving around. Yes, it would be nice to have extra animation being like, oh, this is a fountain, let's play around with it. Oh, this is a burst, let's just touch it or something. I don't know. But for me, really didn't matter, because at the end of the day, I can sit, I can look at the telescope, I can move the snowman, I can hug the snowman. That's more than enough for me.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a huge issue, but I think what started getting in my head was you'd see new and interesting objects and think, okay, how are these incorporated in the puzzle or something, right? Maybe there's something I could do with them. For the most part, every object functionality-wise is the same. It's a roadblock, right? So I think that's when I was like, okay, well, maybe there's some other more interactive stuff, and some things you could interact in clever ways, but maybe the character itself is not that interactive, which is also kind of making me look for a level of charm, I guess, that I was struggling to find, I think. And I mean, the charm does come from like hugging the snowman, obviously, but having a, almost faceless character, that's, a cute design, but I guess I kind of wanted to know more about it, see it take form in somehow. And it's relatively characterless, I guess. But that could just be personal preference of me trying to be like, all right, well, here's the puzzles, but let's look a little bit more into how this guy interacts, right?
I mean, at one point, yeah, but at the other point, it doesn't need to be that. It's just a how do I even say this? It's just a game that. How do I even say this? Because more would be nice. Yes, there is some puzzles that could be more interactive with obstacles and everything. At the end of the day, it had one goal in mind. You have a snowball, make a snowman.
Right.
Everything else is just in obstacles. Everything else is in obstacles. And if you want to sit down, there's the bench. If you want to look at the map, there's a telescope. Done. Here you go.
Well, I guess it's like, I talk about full commitment a lot, right? And it's like they did a great job on full committing to this idea of puzzles. But when you have something, a puzzle game that's challenging like that, having some kind of almost release or diffuse embedded in between the levels, such as seeing how a character interacts with something or letting the charm of the game or the music kind of flow through, it kind of re-energizes you to then continue the puzzles in a way, right? And I think through the entire time I was like, this is really brute force puzzles, right? And it becomes a lot of strain on my mind because I'm constantly thinking about how to solve the puzzle as opposed to like, okay, well let's enjoy the music a little bit or take in the surroundings. For the most part, the surroundings were all pretty the same. So I guess I was just, after seeing a lot of indie games that put a lot of time into that charm that surrounds the package, I think I just kept kind of looking for it because the actual charm itself, I think, was lost on me a little bit. So what's left is some puzzles that are pretty well designed and challenging and fun, thus making it still a challenging and fun game to play. But I think I was just looking for that extra. I don't think that was fully enough for me to stay 100% engaged, I guess. But
Fair enough. For me, it was just enough. So who knows?
Well,
who knows?
It could be that because you're a epic pro gamer, you know, the puzzles themselves were like the 100% engagement. As someone who's not very good at games, I can vouch for them. You know, it's like sometimes you just need a little extra. Otherwise, you're just constantly throwing your brain at the wall and it can hurt. So it's like, even if you go back to like Wario's Woods on the NES, to even make that something that's like as old as that, to make that interesting and have a little bit more character, you always have the face expressions that appear in the top right corner, like little animations that play like, oh, here comes the downfall of enemies, and then you see like Wario's face like do an evil grin or something like that, right? So it's, even back then they were trying to find ways to incorporate interesting elements to kind of diffuse the fact that you're constant puzzle solving. But all that said, this is just me trying to extra emphasize a point, not me trying to dig this game into the ground. I still really enjoyed the game and had a fun time. I felt like there just could have been a little bit more than just gameplay, I guess. That's what I was thinking. But I don't know.
But
it was
the $1 million question is, do you recommend it?
Yeah, I think if you're into puzzle games, I'd recommend it. I don't think, because I actually generally I do enjoy a lot of puzzle games, and I find the older I get, the more I like them too. If you're playing through something like Magnum Opus and then, you know, you're going through the list of like all the great puzzle games, eventually you're going to want to run into this one and you're not going to be dissatisfied. It's going to be fun. It's going to be challenging. It doesn't really hold your hand. It lets you kind of figure out things. It's pretty good at teaching you just through basic gameplay mechanics. And eventually you'll have a snowman that you can hug. And don't we all want that at the end of the day, even if they're hard to build? So yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
A good snowman how to build is a very nice puzzle game. It's available on Steam, itch.io, Epic. It's on mobiles and also Nintendo Switch. So I honestly think it's a really good game where you're going on the go, maybe on a bus or something, and you just want to do a quick puzzles. It's a light snack game, and even then, you can pretty much 100% the game. I 100%ed the game in like 2, 3, 4 hours. It's not the biggest game. It's a very simple game. The only complaint I have, and I'm gonna spoil a bit, yeah, the dream world is very confusing. You might have to watch some walkthrough just to understand what to do there. Yeah, it's a very fun game, very interesting. I recommend it. Play it on mobile or Switch because it's fun to play on the go.
Yeah, on Switch seems like the great place to play it, especially having a D-pad where you can control the character. At the end of the day, it is a very fun game. You should definitely give it a shot if you have the opportunity, and build some snowmen for the holidays or for the summer or for whatever time it is for you. And I think on that note, I think that'll conclude our discussion on A Good Snowman is Hard to Build. This has been Backlog Activated with your hosts Pat and Weirdo Maxim, and we'll see you all next week for a new episode. So thank you guys, take care, and so long.
Subscribe, otherwise I'll keep on saying, do you want to build a snowman over and 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 over. Just cut in the middle of the editing.